You're listening to Dodge Movie Podcast. Your hosts are Christy and Mike Dodge, the founders of Dodge Media Productions. We produce films and podcasts, so this is a podcast about films. Join them as they share their passion for filmmaking.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dodge Movie Podcast. This is episode 176, and we are going to talk about the 2006 film, The Devil Wears Prada.
The thing that I like about us doing this is I had on streaming went to watch the second part of Denis' Dune series, and right beneath it, because it's the D's, was Devil Wears Prada. So I watched this less a week before we watched it for the podcast. I watched it on my own. So I have seen a lot of this film.
You are a good podcaster because you came so prepared.
Yeah, doubly prepared.
Yes. So we watched this on Max. Mike watched it twice on Max.
Yes, I did.
The director is David Frankel, who did 2001's Band of Brothers, 2008's Marley and Me, and 2022's Jerry and Marge Go Large. Did you watch that, or did just I watch that?
I wanted to, but I haven't seen Jerry and Marge. It's
so good. I highly recommend it. And so next time I'm out of town or something, you need to watch it. It's on Max, by the way.
I think I should double feature that. Watch first Jerry and Marge Go Large, followed by Bank of Dave.
Oh, is it available?
Yeah, it's a streamer.
Okay. He just sent me the trailer today, so I didn't know if it was coming in
the
theaters.
But I think they're thematically very similar, but also mostly in the tone.
Yeah.
The tone is positive and uplifting.
I'll have to watch Bank of Dave with Mom next week. Okay. It stars Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Emily Blunt, Stanley Tucci, and Simon Baker. The DP is Florian Balhosh. And he was the DP on 1997's Men in Black, 98's Godzilla, and 2018's I Feel Pretty, the one with Amy Schumer.
Right.
The writer is Aline Brush McKenna, who brought us 27 Dresses, another fave of ours. We Bought a Zoo, and Cruella.
Didn't she also write on like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend? Or
I believe
perhaps
so.
New Girl?
Yes,
one of those? Yeah.
I do believe so. Laura Weisberger wrote the novel that this film is adapted from.
Right.
And let me see if there's... So the filming locations are New York and Paris. And the synopsis for this film is a smart but sensible new graduate lands a job as an assistant to Miranda Priestley, the demanding editor-in-chief of a high fashion magazine. And the tagline, the one and only, and I believe it's there's three taglines. Hell on Heels is the first.
Okay, I like it.
Meet Andy Sachs, a million girls would kill to have her job. She's not one of them. A little too wordy.
Yeah.
And high fashion, low cunning, and a boss from hell.
Okay, that was good with high fashion and low cunning. I don't think we needed the boss from hell part.
The trivia for this is Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue, is largely the inspiration for Miranda Priestley, and she was not invited to the premiere. She did, however, attend an advance screening for the film with the press, along with her daughter, dressed head to toe in Prada. And her daughter could be heard nudging her throughout the screening, saying, "They got that right." Although never commenting on it publicly, she reportedly liked the film despite its initial skepticism. So kick us off with your pickup line and tell me about what kicked off Devil Wears Prada.
Pickup line is "Good Luck" by Nate.
Oh, that's so on the nose for your...
Yeah, I think so. That's the whole point of this is Andy's going to need good luck to get through this.
Yep.
So Nate is her boyfriend, played by a person I think was a bigger name back then, Adrian Grenier. He was on Entourage. It may have finished by then, but he was a big name. Didn't like him in the role. Couldn't stand him. So I don't know if I don't like his work in general, because his character on, Entourage isn't him as a person, of course. Or if it just didn't seem like a good match, right?
I can't remember what it was, but I saw him on some kind of a reality show.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but he did not come off well.
Yeah, Simon Baker plays kind of the Lothario bad guy love interest, person, and I like him better, even though they have him wearing a scarf, which generally, I mean, it kind of says he's a douche if he's wearing a scarf. But far more importantly...
You mean when it's not cold outside?
Yeah. That character, Christian, says if it weren't for the boyfriend and if he was a real writer, he wouldn't use a subjunctive. That was a big flaw right there. Got to talk to the... I don't know if Baker just misdelivered the line or what. Maybe Aline can call in and give us some insight into that one.
What about the cinematography for this film? Was there anything that stood out for you?
Well, we start out with a montage of the fashionistas getting ready, and it was cleverly done because we think that it's Andy getting ready in the sexy lingerie, but it turns out it's not.
Don't they intersperse her, though,
Yes.
so that sometimes we think it might be her?
Yeah, we do until the very end. There's a shot that they repeat with walking from the curb to the building, right, for both Andy and Miranda, which is nice. At the dinner with friends with, what's his name, Summer, the guy that was on Mad Men.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. But
I'm sorry for that actor. He does good work. But anyway, they circle the table a la Passenger 57.
oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
You love it when they do
Got-
a circular dolly shot.
Love is maybe a strong word there. They have another montage of Andy dressing like a fashionista later in the film. There's a great dolly in on Miranda in her office and then dolly out. So lots of dolly work here. They threw in an extreme close-up of the doorknob to Miranda's townhouse. And all I think is that's the light in the ceiling, that they had no way to get from one shot to the other, and they threw it in. It didn't really, to me, it was weird. But then there's a Paris fashion show montage. And I thought this was really good. At the end, the last kind of, I mean, I don't think it's called last shot, but the last scene, it mirrors both Miranda and Andy. And because Andy's on the other side of the street. And so I thought that was really nice visual storytelling to bookend it and to show that kind of Andy has become her own Miranda, right? So I thought it was shot very well. And so for a film like this, which I would consider romantic comedy-ish, right?
It is, but there's also themes of kind of what is important to you.
Right.
And
yeah, I think it's a bit more young person finding their way in the world. But anyway, so stylistically, they went with a pretty saturated, pretty well lit, pretty standard glossy kind of look. But that makes sense for a film about fashion. You're going to want all the clothes you spent money on. And in fact, I think there's some trivia you'll get to about how much money they spent on that. So you're going to want those to really be the star of the shot. So I thought it was good cinematography.
yeah, quickly, I think one of us identified she was given an outfit by Stanley Tucci's character. And so it made sense why she would have that one outfit. And are we to presume that he was lending her a ton of other outfits? I don't think that would be the case. I don't think the assistant to would, maybe you'd be loaned a dress for a big event so you don't embarrass your boss.
Right.
But I don't think daily you would be given outfits. And she just was, especially coats. Coats are so expensive, designer coats.
Right.
And she had a new, like a Kelly green coat, and then a blue coat, and then a black coat, and then a pink coat.
I think when they're shooting them, the clothes are on a rack just out of frame of the photographer, and they put them on and put them back to let her leave the building. Like, just imagine what could happen to that coat.
She was doing multiple coffee runs where she was buying like 4 and 8 cups of coffee. There's no way you let her out of the building when a Prada coat.
You put her in an orange jumpsuit from like Sheriff Joe from Arizona. That's what you send her in to get coffee in New York.
Right. What did you think of Andy's character development over the course of the movie?
Well, it's hard because I think we're supposed to identify with her ambition, and I didn't actually really. I thought where she started out was better than getting into. And so she says, or something. There's a line. It's this or Auto Universe. I'm like, well, Auto Universe sounds like a much better way to spend your time.
I found a deleted scene. She is in the office. You know how there used to be a lot of scenes with like the unemployment office or something.
Yeah.
And so the woman says, you could be at Vogue. And she's like, no, that's not really my speed. Or not Vogue. They made up a pretend, whatever the pretend magazine is.
Yeah.
And she said, or Auto
Universe.
Yeah. And so that's that.
See, that would have helped. But to establish, but even then, I think she should have gone Auto Universe. And
you're a little biased.
I liked her look with the cable knit sweater and the tights and the sensible shoes. I like that she ate bagels. I like first act Andy just fine. I think that's a superior thing. And I understand that part of this is that. So for me, that development, I did follow it. I think Hathaway did great in acting, but just, I'll be honest, for me, part of a hurdle to get over, I don't believe in that fashion world. And I think it's interesting. There's a bit where Meryl Streep's character talks about it's not just blue. That's cerulean. And she traces this link. And I think the fashion people are like, see, fashion matters. And to me, I was like, no, see, you look backward and found where you found your ideas. But you could have just as easily chosen to go plaid or polka dots, right? So to me, I understand that there are people who are into fashion like that, but as a viewer, I wasn't. So I was pulling for Andy. I think the writing and Hathaway's performance had me pulling for her, even though there was still kind of this little part of my brain that was like, no, you should just leave. Like, this isn't worth it. And I think Emily Blunt's character was supposed to show us that. There's a line in there where she says, I'm just one stomach flu away from my goal weight, which is such a hideous concept, right? So I think, and she's so harsh and critical and all those things. So it's to show us why this isn't a good thing. And I guess maybe we all know people in life, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's a friend who want something that's bad for them. And so there's a bit of that difficult to watch as it goes through this. And so to me, I liked her development. I think it all made sense. The only downside was at the end, she goes back to her boyfriend, who's still played by Adrian Grenier, who I just didn't see the chemistry there. I didn't really enjoy that at all. And in fact, he was a bit of a jerk to her. He said something early on about her not looking good. And I was just like, why are you with this guy? So if she'd given him the boot as well as Meryl Streep, I could have bought. But ultimately, though, I was happy, like all the viewers, I think, when we see her on the sidewalk. She's gotten the job at the highfalutin journalist place, and she sees Miranda, and they have that interaction. I definitely bought that, right? They brought me full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, despite the multiple fashion designer loans that they did get, Patricia Field spent more than $1 million on costuming, making it the most expensively costumed film in history. And she received her sole Oscar nomination for her work on this film. So I guess it was worth it. But wow, $1 million.
Right. You know how many films I could make for that? So the question I then have is, where did those clothes go? I mean, I hope they weren't just, what do you call it, where you take the little hook thing and you take the seams out, you rip the seams, and they just, reuse the cloth or whatever.
All costumes were sold at an auction at an auction for breast cancer research. Anne Hathaway bought the green dress that her character gets to wear, and one item Meryl Streep kept was her sunglasses, which she wore as Donna in the famous Money, Money, Money scene in 2008's Mamma Mia.
So credit to Hathaway, because I know, I've heard that many actors depart set with their costumes without asking. So credit to her for throwing some money to breast cancer research. I think this, I said to a friend of mine when I watched this could be peak Hathaway. This certainly was a highlight of that portion of her career, I think, this film, right? And I love Stanley Tucci's turn as the designer. I think he did a fantastic job in this. In particular, at the table at the gala event where he finds out backhandedly that he didn't get the job that Miranda had promised him. Tucci's acting was fantastic. He was funny when he needed to be, but it was just so heart-wrenching, that scene. Great work on his part. Tip of the cap.
I feel like I saw an interview, but I maybe am making this up, so take it for what it's worth. But I felt like Anne Hathaway did an interview where she said this was like the third movie where she did a makeover montage.
Oh, okay.
So for what it's worth, the sets, the only contact that production had with Vogue was Jess Gontour, the production designer who snuck into their offices to get a look at Anna Wintour's office. He was able to recreate it so authentically that it is said that Anna redecorated hers immediately after the film came out.
So speaking of sets, two things stuck out to me. One is 2006 is pre-iPhone, so there were Blackberries everywhere.
Yes.
And this very much dates it to a very narrow range of years. And the other is somebody in production design said, we have to quickly visually communicate that we're in the garment district. So they had a bucket of mannequins. Why? Who would have like the 4 foot by 6 foot rolling bucket just filled with mannequins walking down the street?
The people who were in the mannequin movie.
Yes.
Because I believe there were buckets of mannequins there as well. So maybe I'm trying to think if I saw a bucket of mannequins, because last time I went to New York, I stayed in the garment district. There were tons of boxes always on the sidewalks. And one night when we were walking home from Broadway after seeing a show, a stack of pallets were on a corner on fire.
So
I just thought only in New York.
Yeah. Luckily, the crew of The Long Rewind, a sister podcast, are in New York. So I will text them and ask them if they've seen any buckets of mannequins.
Keep an eye out for mannequin buckets.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for
and
mannequins.
take a picture so we can add it to her. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I just wanted to mention that there's at one point somebody's wearing a hat that looks left over from Newsies. Like it was this incredibly large, floppy golf caddy hat from 1878. It was nuts.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could do Couldn't Be Made Today, by the way.
Okay.
While we're in the middle of this.
Did you have anything of this film? I mean, this is a pretty recent film, but is there anything that couldn't be made today?
Well, there is a whole lot of fat shaming in this film.
Of course, it's the fashion industry. That's on brand.
It may be accurate, but this is an interesting question. If you were to make a film about a lighthearted comedy about the fashion industry today, could you go as hard as they do in this? I mean, they really go after Anne Hathaway, who is very thin in this film.
Extremely. Although I think I don't know if I wrote it down, but she lost weight. She lost like 14 pounds.
The trivia says she did lose some weight over the casting or the production, but even then she's a very slender gal. So I noticed that it was kind of probably accurate, but pretty harsh.
Yeah, pretty rough. All right. Any head trauma?
So Andy slams the cab door on her dad's head, which is always nice. And then Emily gets hit by a taxi. She does a nice hood roll. I didn't pause it. I'm going to go ahead and say that probably wasn't Emily Blunt. They probably got a stunt person, but credit to whomever did that stunt.
I do believe this was her first film, though, so maybe they weren't protecting the talent as well. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it wasn't.
This film, it may, I don't know if it's her first credit or not, but this is what introduced the world to Emily Blunt. And I find that interesting because her work since then has really been much different. She doesn't really have a kind of a reputation or a body of work that is about fashion or being a pretty mean girl. So, a bit of a range there, but also, wow, isn't that fascinating how you never know, right? Looking back, we say, oh, that's Emily Blunt. But
it's interesting because the way that iconography works kind of in reverse is I adore her as a person as well as an actor. And I saw her as, she's just Andy, but like a year later.
Right. Yeah.
And so I didn't see her as much a mean girl, even though there is a point when, is it Heidi Klum no, it's not Heidi Klum. It's Giselle comes in and they kind of mean girl, they gang up on Andy and kind of say something mean.
That's true.
But other than that, she's kind of barking at her just because she is so stressed out because she's under the gun.
Yeah, I think in the film, narratively, she shows us the other path that Andy could have gone down.
Right.
And so, yeah, she's a likable character, but you know what I'm saying, though? She's in other films, she just plays a lot of very different roles. In particular, I'm thinking of the latest film, The Fall Guy, where she plays a director. And so that's such a different, you know, she's kind of like the Anna Wintour character in a sense that she's at the top of the org chart then. So it's just, I thought it was interesting. You know, you never know when people get started. What's the old thing? There's no small roles, just small actors. You know, wow. Just the people that I guess, you know, like Jerry Seinfeld said, if you have the talent, you know, you'll rise. We'll find you eventually.
Yeah, she's amazing. All right. Let's see. Smoochie, is there a love story?
Smoochie. There is actually. So Nate and Andy kiss before going into the bedroom for presumably the Humpty Hump. And then Christian, played by Simon Baker, kisses Andy in Paris. So she gets a couple different guys to smooch her. Way to go, Andy.
Nice. Driving review.
And so there's really only 2 cars that feature anything in here. Right. One is silver 2006 911 Carrera S Cabrio. This shows that Miranda follows appearance and not function because there is no reason to have a 911 in New York City. You will never get out of first gear. And there's even a part there where Andy's supposed to take it to get the brakes checked. No, the brakes would be pristine. You're never going to go fast. You're just not going to brake. Those brakes will last for 10 years. So
you use your brakes a lot because pedestrians walk in front of you.
Yeah, but you're not going that fast. You're just idling. And the other is there's a black 2006 Mercedes S-Class. This also shows that she follows fashion because it's a brand new car. She has to have a brand new. And interestingly enough, that was a prototype of an upcoming model, which allowed them to cut it in half so that they could get the shots of Andy and Miranda in the back seat. Which is an interesting way to do that. I think now, because we have smaller cameras, maybe they wouldn't have to do that. But in 2006, cut it in half so you can film it.
Mm-hmm. All right, shall we go to the numbers?
Let's go to the numbers.
Only 2 days of the production took place in Paris. It was too expensive to fly Meryl Streep to Europe, so her scenes were shot in the U.S., and Meryl Streep almost left production during the early stages due to her dissatisfaction with her salary. The scene where Andy missed Nate's birthday and comes in with a cupcake was originally going to be that they were all going to a concert and she shows up late, but it was too expensive and the studio needs cuts. It's estimated that there are around $10 million worth of scenes nixed from the script for a $35 million budget, including an alternate ending for the couple and the florals for spring that saved a bit. So this is a 2006 film. It was, the budget for this, like I said, was $35 million. It brought in domestically $124.7 million. Adjusted for today, that's like $205 million. And worldwide, it brought in $325 million. IMDb score is 6.9 out of 10. Critics loved it at 75%. Audiences are just a smidge over that at 76%. It's an hour and 49 minutes. It's rated PG-13, and it is listed as a comedy drama, and it is a 20th Century Fox film. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. It got 21 wins and 53 nominations in total. So, and this is a fan favorite. I would say that a lot of people, when you bring it up, enjoy this film.
Yeah, I think this is one. Yeah, I think one of the more popular films in that genre.
I enjoyed watching it again. How about you the second time around in such a short span of time?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed watching it twice in the span of about a week. So it's a good credit to it there. That's a fun film.
Cool. Let's see what we're going to watch next week.
Oh, wow. Speaking of introduction, this is the movie that introduced me to Anna Faris. It's House Money.
I believe this is a pick from Superfan RJ.
Yes, it is. Superfan RJ picked House Bunny for us.
Nice. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you need something to watch House Bunny and join us next week where we will be talking about it. But never forget,
Dodges never stop, and neither do the movies.
Thanks for listening to Dodge Movie Podcast with Christy and Mike Dodge of Dodge Media Productions. To find out more about this podcast and what we do, go to dodgemediaproductions.com. Subscribe, share, leave a comment, and tell us what we should watch next. Dodges never stop, and neither do the movies.